Hey everyone, and welcome to this Forge College Explainer. Today, we're going to act as master architects. We're drafting the absolute ultimate blueprint for combining function visibility with parameter data locations. I'm literally so thrilled you're here for this one. You know, we've learned the theoretical mechanics. We know all the separate pieces. But today is where the rubber finally meets the road, or, well, more accurately, where the code meets the blockchain and hopefully doesn't accidentally drain everyone's wallets, right? We're going to build a working, breathing smart contract that perfectly aligns how a function is accessed with exactly where its underlying data lives. Let's get into it.
Okay, so to move forward, let's take a quick look backward. In our last review, we gathered our raw materials, right? Memory, storage, and call data. Those are the fundamental data locations that dictate whether we're passing around a temporary copy, making a permanent state change on the blockchain, or simply reading a read-only input. Today, we're taking those raw materials and we're welding them directly to our structural access doors, our visibility modifiers. We're talking public, external, internal, and private. Think of data locations as the high-voltage wiring inside your machine and visibility as the heavily locked doors and access panels built entirely around that wiring. I mean, you can't just shove any live wire behind any door without risking a massive short circuit or worse, a huge security breach.
So, here's our official blueprint for today. 1. The visibility blueprint. 2. Public and external access. 3. Internal and private gears. 4. The strict compiler inspector. And 5. Engineering best practices.
All right, Section 1, the visibility blueprint, mapping the contexts.
So here are the exact callability contexts we're building. It's like a giant puzzle, and look at how perfectly these pieces align. Notice how external visibility pairs flawlessly with call data for complex types, like arrays. That's because if a call is coming from outside the contract, we absolutely do not want to waste computational effort copying that data into memory if we're merely reading it. Makes sense, right? On the flip side, internal functions are kind of like the trusted family members of your contract. They love to get their hands dirty and mutate storage directly. Then we have public functions. These can be called from absolutely anywhere and typically use memory for complex types, which gives them a ton of flexibility. And finally, private functions. These are your totally paranoid, completely sealed-off implementation details that trust literally no one.
Moving on to Section 2, public and external access, building the outside levers.
Let's actually test out those public levers. Imagine we've just deployed our shiny new machine to the blockchain. By sequentially calling our public setter and getter, we prove that anyone can securely manipulate a single piece of state. We call getStored, and no surprise, we see a 0. Then we punch in a 42 using setStored, because, you know, it's the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. When we check again, the state safely returns 42. Now, this is a super basic interaction, but it's absolutely crucial to understand public visibility means both external accounts and other internal functions can hit this switch. It is the wide-open front door of our smart contract.
But hang on a second. What if we're passing something incredibly heavy through that front door, like a massive array of numbers? Well, that brings us to call data. Imagine someone handing you a gigantic multi-volume encyclopedia just for you to read a single paragraph. You wouldn't go to a copy machine and photocopy the entire encyclopedia just to read it, right? That costs time, effort, and in our world, gas. And in Web3, wasted gas means you are literally burning your users' hard-earned money. Not good. Call data is our ultimate gas-saving mechanism because it skips copying data altogether. It leaves the data exactly where it arrived in the transaction payload and just safely reads it directly from there. It's brilliant.
So the crucial takeaway here is that by strictly matching external visibility with call data, a function, let's call it SumArray, processes lists from the outside world with maximum efficiency. When we declare a function as external, we're explicitly telling the compiler, hey, this is only for outside callers. And because it's only for outside callers, the compiler allows us to use that ultra-cheap call data location for our array parameter. We can effortlessly iterate through the numbers, sum them up, and return the result to the user, all without a single expensive memory allocation. It's a real game changer.
All right, Section 3, internal and private gears, the hidden machinery.
Now, check this out.
See how an internal mutator acts as a secure, gas-friendly pipe for updating our state? We have a function called push-to-storage, marked specifically as internal. It takes a value and smoothly pushes it into our storage array. Because it's internal, no one from the outside world can call this directly. No way! It has to be invoked by a public wrapper function that we provide. This pattern acts as a single source of truth for how our storage is modified, keeping our state changes safe, predictable, and highly modular.
Notice this strict difference here, though. You might be wondering, why on earth do we need private if we already have internal? Well, internal gears can be inherited. If we expand our factory and create a new contract that inherits from this one, that new contract can use the internal functions. But private helpers, they are permanently sealed within the original hull. Even a child contract cannot see or access a private function. You use private when you have a piece of logic that is so incredibly specific to the current contract's implementation that letting some junior developer's child contract accidentally touch it would cause like a complete factory meltdown.
Watch this beautiful chain reaction that perfectly combines all our access levels into one smooth flow. An outside call triggers a public function, say process and append, with the number 5. This public lever turns a tightly sealed private calculation gear called double if odd. Since 5 is odd, the private gear does some hidden math and doubles it to 10. Then it smoothly feeds that 10 right into our internal storage mutator, push to storage. The array now permanently holds 10. The whole shebang. This is exactly how you want to design your contracts. Public entry points routing securely through private logic, culminating in carefully controlled internal state mutations.
Section 4. The strict compiler inspector. Stress testing the machine.
Okay, let's ask a highly dangerous question. What if we try to force a public pipe directly into a call data intake valve? Like, what if we take that highly efficient sum array function we built earlier, keep the call data parameter to save gas, but change the visibility from external to public? After all, public is just external plus internal, right? It kind of seems like a clever hack.
Bam! Rejected. The safety inspector instantly slaps a giant red stamp on our blueprint. The compiler will throw an error immediately and aggressively. Why? Because call data is strictly and unapologetically reserved for external access. If a function is public, it means it can be called from inside the contract. But internal calls don't create a new transaction payload, so there is literally no call data location to read from. The compiler is protecting you from attempting a physical impossibility within the Ethereum virtual machine. If you want it to be public, you absolutely must change the parameter to memory.
Furthermore, if an internal gear tries to directly turn an external lever, the inspector fails you yet again. Let's say you have an internal function that just tries to call SumArray. The compiler will flat out say, member not found. To call an external function from inside the very same contract, you absolutely must use the this keyword, like this.SumArray. But beware, doing this routes the call entirely outside the contract and back in again as a brand new message call. It's literally like leaving your house, walking all the way around the block, and knocking on your own front door just to enter your own kitchen. It works, but it is absurdly inefficient and costs significantly more gas. It's a brilliant example of the compiler forcing you to acknowledge exactly what your machine is physically doing under the hood.
And finally, Section 5, Engineering Best Practices, Finalizing the Blueprint. So treat your visibility modifiers as the strict API contract of your machine. When another developer reads your code, external tells them, hey, this is explicitly for the front end or other smart contracts. Internal tells them, this is for my derived factory line. And private clearly says, hands off, this is my highly sensitive internal logic. By strictly using calldata with external functions and internal helpers for safe storage mutation, you ensure your data locations act as perfectly calibrated performance and safety knobs. You get the absolute cheapest gas costs combined with the highest possible security. It's a win-win.
Before you head over to Forge.college to learn more about Web3 development and master these concepts, I want to leave you with this deeply provocative thought for our next debugging lesson. If we build a brand new contract that inherits from the very machine we built today, how exactly will that inheritance test the limits of those paranoid, tightly sealed private gears we just crafted? What happens when a child tries to run the parent's secret machinery? Think on that. Thank you so much for joining this Forge College Explainer. Keep experimenting, keep building safely, and remember to visit Forge.college for more deep dives into Solidity and the incredible Web3 ecosystem. See you next time.